In this next video, I'll be comparing two destinations that you would think are so similar, but in fact, they are quite unique. So coming right up, I'll be comparing Antarctica and the Arctic region. So stay tuned if you're trying to figure out which location you would like to go to on your next vacation. All right, so let's compare Antarctica with the Arctic Circle. We want to make sure that you select the appropriate destination based on your travel desires. These are costly locations. These are going to be very expensive to get to. So you want to ensure you're selecting the destination that you are going to be happiest with. So let's start off with Antarctica. There are several cruise lines that go to Antarctica that are in the luxury realm as well as the expedition realm. And those are typically with Silver Sea, Scenic, and Ponant. Those are the most popular. And those take place in the Antarctica region closest to South America. Now, with Crystal Cruise Lines, you can actually do an expedition trip to the sub-Antarctic islands in New Zealand. So that's also another option regarding Antarctica. Most of the time, the itineraries range from 10 to about 15 days minimum. Okay, there are also some longer ones that can be in the 20-day-ish range. Now, with the Arctic Circle, you also are able to use Ponant, Silver Sea, or Scenic. With Scenic, there aren't as many itineraries as with Ponant or Silver Sea. The minimum typically ranges between 7 days and it goes up to about 25 days. So similar to Antarctica, there's a wide range of days and itineraries that you can choose from. Well, let's move on to how to get to these locations. So with Antarctica, it is very limited, so you will typically have to fly in to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and take transportation to Ushuaia, which is at the southernmost point of Argentina. And there is a port there that you will be leaving from. You will also notice that there are not very many mass cruise lines that will be departing to Antarctica. The destination is very ecologically friendly, environmentally friendly, and they want to ensure there aren't very many ships out there at the same time. So you will want to make sure you pay attention to the itineraries and times of the year because of this. So you are limited to a ton of options. Now with the mass cruise lines, you're unable to actually explore the continent of Antarctica, which is why I highly recommend expedition travel, because you're able to take a luxury expedition, a great beautiful ship, comfortable amenities, but at the same time you're able to get on these rafts, I already forgot the name of it, Zodiacs, and they take you to the actual continent. There's several different islands that you can explore and see penguins and so forth. So keep that in mind with Antarctica, taking a mass cruise ship or expedition cruises. Definitely, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you might as well take an expedition cruise, or else you're just going to be waving at the continent from a distance on your cruise line there, on your mass cruise ship line. Now also, keep in mind with Antarctica, if you do take the route of leaving from Argentina, you will have to pass through the Drake Passage. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Drake Passage, but just in case you haven't, this is known to be one of the most dangerous seas in the world. It's located between Cape Horn in South America and the South Shetland of Antarctica. What happens is, they say the mixture of cold and warm sea layers mix and creates huge currents and swells. Sometimes these waves that occur can reach almost 29 feet. So imagine spending about 2 days in these crazy waters through the Drake Passage to get to Antarctica. They say lots of people end up getting seasick, so plan for spending about 2 days in your room. They joke around saying it could be Drake Shake or Drake Lake. We just never know. It's a 50-50 chance if it's going to be smooth or violent. So keep that in mind. You can also take a flight straight into the heart of Antarctica if you decide you'd rather skip the Drake Passage and spend the extra money for that adventure. Now, those of you that are thrill seekers, you will love taking that risk of the Drake Passage. So if you're adventurous, you might actually want to explore this Drake Passage, the famous Drake. Now, with the Arctic Circle, it is very opposite. You have calmer waters. And of course, the Arctic Circle is not a continent. It's a region, also known as the North Pole, which encompasses regions of Norway, Sweden, Greenland, Finland, Iceland, Canada, Russia, and even Alaska, as well as thousands of islands. So the Arctic Circle actually accounts for about 6% of the Earth's surface. So as you can see, there are way more opportunities for you to fly into the Arctic Circle versus Antarctica. It all depends on the region you want to focus on. Maybe you're interested in seeing more polar bears. The Greenland and Canada excursion might be the direction you want to go, or you might want to fly into Norway, probably from Paris, France. It seems to be a very popular destination to fly out of to get to Norway, and then take a cruise to the area where you most likely will find polar bears, which we will talk about in a few minutes. So it all depends, again, on what your interests are. So you'll have to definitely do some research when you're ready to discover the Arctic Circle. Moving on to landscape. So Antarctica is pretty much covered in ice. 98% of the continent is covered in ice. So you'll find icy mountain glaciers and smooth ice sheets. In the summer, much of the water around Antarctica becomes fresh water from these melting ice sheets and glaciers. Now, the Arctic Circle is a bit different. You'll find a little bit more variety in the landscape. You'll find mountains, fjords, which are long, narrow inlets with steep sides or cliffs created by a glacier. And you can find these in Iceland and Norway. You'll also find rolling tundra. So as you can see, the Arctic Circle is a bit more diverse. If you're still undecided between Antarctica and the Arctic Circle, ask yourself this question. Are you more of a penguins person or more of a polar bear type person? I ask you this because penguins are found in Antarctica. There's over 5 million that exist there. However, in the Arctic Circle, you will not find any, believe it or not. So let's talk about the wildlife that you will find in Antarctica. So of course, as I mentioned, penguins will be found. There are humpback and blue whales, killer whales, sea lions, and many other seal species. The best time, by the way, to see whales is typically around February and March. Also, another highlight about visiting Antarctica is that there are no insects with wings because, of course, it's really windy out there. Now, there is one insect. It's actually the only true insect that lives on the Antarctica continent and actually lives frozen in ice, and that is a fly that has no wings, and it's called the midge, the Antarctica midge. So I might have just sold you. For those of you that don't like insects, this is a place you're going to want to visit. I'm sure you're curious now about the wildlife and the Arctic Circle. You're going to be surprised at the variety, probably due to the landscape since it's very diverse there. You will find different types of whales such as the narwhal and beluga whales, Greenland sharks, seals, walruses, reindeer, of course, right? That's where Santa's from. And you're going to have polar bears, as I mentioned before, Arctic foxes, hares, lemmings, many species of birds. Now, polar bears can almost be seen year-round, depending where you go, like the Greenland, Alaska regions, parts of Canada. Also, there's a very popular area. It's probably one of the most northernmost points, closest to the North Pole there, is Svalbard, Norway. And you're going to find that there are about 3,000 polar bears in that region, which exceeds the human population. Amazing, right? Almost 1,000 humans exist total, according to a survey of the Norwegian subpopulation in 2015. And Svalbard, Norway, is actually a nature preserve. So this is why you have a chance of seeing more polar bears. So keep that in mind as you are looking at where you would like to explore along the Arctic Circle. So as you can see, you have very diverse wildlife in Antarctica and the Arctic Circle. Hopefully this helps you determine a little bit more what your travel desires are after hearing more about the landscape and the wildlife. Now let's move on to temperature. The temperature in Antarctica can get up to 35 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer months, which ranges from November through March. February through March is pretty much the late summer. So if you're not wanting to have too cold of temperatures, that is a good time to go. You will see a lot of wildlife as well. And then around December, even Christmas, sometimes you have 24-hour sun. Now the Arctic Circle temperatures can vary from 39 to about 43 in their summer, and their summer starts in June and goes to about early August. Well, let's talk about the culture in both locations. In Antarctica, you will not find people living there unless they're scientists, believe it or not. Every year there's about 10,000 scientists that work in Antarctica during the summer, and about 1,000 stay for the winter each year to conduct research. In the Arctic Circle, you actually have different tribes that live throughout the region. You have the Inuits, Sami, and Yakuts. So as you can see, it's very different than Antarctica. Antarctica receives about 40,000 tourists a year. And in the Arctic Circle, they receive close to 1 million tourists every year. Now, remember, the Nordic region, they benefit from their closeness to the other European states, so that helps with their tourism. Let's move on to best time to visit. With Antarctica, the best time to go depends on what you're wanting to see. For example, most of the cruises start in November and end in March. That is the time frame to visit. With November, if you're looking for undisturbed land and you want to see Antarctica for what it is, that is the time to go. It's going to be very cold. You will start seeing maybe penguins mating, and by the end of November, you'll see lots of nests full of eggs. Now let's say you're wanting something a little bit warmer. December through February, early February, is where you're going to have more sunlight, sometimes up to 20 to 24 hours of sunlight, warmer temperatures. You'll start seeing wildlife hatching, especially those penguin chicks. And then mid-February through March, which is the late summer in Antarctica, you're going to have the best chances of spotting those whales. And the temperature is a lot warmer, and you'll experience rocky and muddy landings. There's not as much snow left on the ground. Now, if we move to the Arctic Circle, the best time to visit, most of the cruises take place between May through September. But if you're wanting something a little bit more warm, you're going to want to go between June and August because there's less ice. It's the European summer. You're going to have chances to see the midnight sun because that's where the 24 hours of sunshine in spring and summer happen. It's where the sunset merges with the sunrise. So that's pretty amazing and a wonderful phenomenon, breathtaking pictures that you can take. Or you could go late August, September, if you're wanting to chase the northern lights and see the Arctic Circle as well. So kind of killing two birds with one stone, either way you go. So again, it depends on what you're looking for. Make sure you do your research ahead of time and write down all of your desires that you're wanting. Are you wanting penguins? Are you wanting polar bears? Are you wanting to experience the Drake Passage? Are you wanting to experience Northern Lights? It all depends on what you are looking to achieve. If you learned something new from this video, make sure and give it a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure and do so by tapping the little notification bell below. That way you will always be up to date on travel news. And last but not least, if you have a destination that you are dying to learn more about, make sure and add it down below in the comments section, because who knows? Maybe the next video I will feature the destination that you are wanting to learn more about.